Howard did a great introduction. I didn't know he was going to go there, but that's really exactly what we're doing. Housing does not work today at the prices we are currently seeing in the market. So we got to do better for less. Thus, this is the subject for today. Those that don't know, my experience is I'm a housing nut when I was a little kid. Somehow I got this luck, became an architect, but got really excited about energy and renewables and went into state programs, and I led national programs for Energy Storage Certified Home, Zero Energy Ready Home, support Oak Ridge National Laboratory, trying to improve existing homes. So I have a lot of just endless interest in housing, just how to make it better. So I'm going to share with you a lot of things today. What I don't want to do is come across like dogmatic, you have to do everything I say. What I want to do today is come across, I've seen a lot of things that really excite me. I think are tools that work in many cases, and I think should be considered so that we can figure out what to do with this enigma of housing affordability. So particularly here in Hawaii, we're really at incredibly high levels relative to the rest of the country. So let's jump right in, see if this works. We need to turn it back on. There we go. So this is the ambitious agenda for today. Discuss the crisis that is affordability, then jump into solutions, lots of solutions. And I'm going to go through as many of those as I can. You're going to see my partner in crime here, Gail, is going to raise her hand when I have like 15 minutes left. Wherever I am, I warn you, I'll jump to the end because this last one, optimized productivity, is, I think, critical. I think we'll talk about why we get there. And I'm going to leave you with just a single slide set of recommendations. What do we do? The outcome after is you get on a path here and you start really attacking this problem in a really meaningful way. So this is a reference I mentioned, lots of content, citations, all of that making high-performance home professionals leaders in the industry. So let's start with the crisis, and essentially I kind of take the crisis and see it in three parts. One is this incredible disconnect between the median home price and median household income. Second, the shrinking workforce. I'll just cover maybe one or two slides to go through that. And then the third slide is glacial productivity. And that one, a little more time because that's really critical to the recommendations I'll be making, how to do better for less. So let's start with price income disconnect. And I think this map says it all. This is the year 2000. And you see this color blue, this dark blue means that the median home price to median household income ratio is under 3, which HUD and National Association of Realtors will set as a threshold for what's affordable. What's real exciting in the year 2000 is that the vast majority of the country is kind of in the blue range. You have the coast of California is the gold color, which is ratio of 5 to 8. So already they're experiencing warning signs because 5 is considered severely financially burdened. And so already California, at least along the coastal counties, was getting burdened. New York Metro was having problems in Boston area, but the most of the country was doing okay. 2/3 in 2000 of the 100 largest markets were under 3. And fast forward to 2022, and boom, we're in this bracket all over the country, 5 to 8, 8 to 10, and over 10. And so now half of the 100 largest markets are greater than 5, severely financially burdened. And if you look at the highest population places, most of the housing is built, is where it's worse. Florida, Texas, Arizona, California, Washington, Portland, Oregon, all those places. And of course, our favorite place, Hawaii. Hawaii is like the epicenter. We're at 12x. So the median price home, $1.02 million, is 12 times the median household income of about $93,000. So that means when I crunch the numbers, you need 145% of your pre-tax income, if you're a median income household family, you pay for housing. You buy a medium price home. 145%. If you take the post-tax income, the actual money you take home after taxes, you need 2 times your income to pay for housing. So we have a crisis. It's kind of just what we all know. And this is the final slide on this. Here's the problem. Incomes have been relatively flat. Home prices increasing exponentially. I'll suggest this little blip here at the top coming down is the beginning of what I believe is a ceiling. I just don't think the gap can get any bigger. Cheryl Palmer is the chairman and CEO of Taylor Morrison, one of the top national home builders in the country. And she said it best. This is just not sustainable. So let's all recognize we have to get housing much lower and not incremental. Howard said up front is right, spot on. We have to get housing like half cost of current years. That gap doesn't work. So our trade shortage, our 94% of construction firms are struggling to find workers. That's a problem because currently the average construction worker age is over 42, and a pipeline of new workers to replace every 5 that are currently leaving are only 2. So only 2 workers coming in behind 5 retiring, while the construction age is already for construction work very old. So we have a huge problem where the workers are going to come from. And then on productivity, first thing I'll tell you is this chart's complicated, but what it's saying is that if you look at any of the major financial metrics for success in business, price to earnings ratio, total shareholder returns, return on tangible equity, and you look at the blue lines and curves or bar charts versus the black, blue being digitization leaders versus laggards, which are black, you can see about 26 to 65% outperformance if you embrace digitization. Okay, so we know, we won't get into the details of that, except to say, here's construction. Across all industries, the McKinsey & Company looked at how digitized are all the industries, and we have agriculture and hunting to thank keep construction from being at the bottom. But it's still all red and orange, which means almost no digitization in the industry, which is also an example or indicator, very little innovation. And then when we look at advanced manufacturing and how it can reduce costs, McKinsey & Company suggests it's a $200 billion productivity gap that's costing industry that can be closed by using advanced manufacturing methods. And that explains in their analysis why construction is so much below the rest of every other industry's productivity track record over time. About a 2x difference in increases of productivity versus the only industry that's decreasing productivity. So here's a solution, $200 billion solution, and we're at the very last countries applying this innovation as well as digitization, advanced manufacturing. This is from 2028 or 2018, when we were at 3%, and the other countries were growing from 7 to 11, 15 to 20, up to 85%. In 2024, NEHB is suggesting that manufactured housing is still, advanced manufactured solutions are still only 3% of the market, not counting HUD code homes, which are a different product for different markets. So what do we do about all this? Okay, we have a 3-part crisis: highest income ratios, workforce, and we have productivity problems. What are the solutions? So what I'm going to suggest is what we have to do is optimize housing. Where we're excessively hurting, we have to use optimization innovations to get better. First innovation is going from waste, excessive waste, to optimize lean. And I mean waste in all of its forms. We can't waste land, we can't waste space. We have natural resources that can provide free heating, cooling, and fresh air. We have to leverage those. If we have to make no wasted energy, we can't waste construction. Every element of what goes into a home, we have to eliminate waste. So waste is the biggest topic I'll cover. It covers a lot. Then we have to go from excessive complexity to simple. We can't afford the kind of complexity builders believe many homeowners are wanting. And it winds up from all the surveys, it's just the opposite. Homeowners are just wishing for more simplicity. And then systems as an afterthought is excessive. We have to go to really fully optimized systems integration. Mechanical systems are an afterthought. Storage is an afterthought. Things like integrating all solar and technology in a home, all those things are an afterthought. And if they're fully integrated, like they're done in every other industry, there are huge cost savings just coming from integration. Or we'll talk about quality, going from excessive expenses for qualities, rework, defects that have to be corrected, to optimizing quality and getting rid of those costs. And also part of quality is using proven innovations that are inherently less risky for defects and rework problems. And then going from excessive customization to mass customization. There's way too much customization that we strive to provide. We don't have to do it. There's also something called the paradox of choice. Really advanced research that tells us from extensive data that when we have too much choice, we're stressed out and we're less happy. If builders are throwing us into design centers, and I personally mystery shop and watch these kinds of processes, and families and couples are just in tears with all the stress choices they have to make. I went and did a detailed presentation for a custom building conference, and every panel I listened to was about just all the stress breakdowns that happen during the process of making all the choices that in a custom house our clients had to make. So mass customization, huge opportunity for cost savings. And number 6 is, again, going for excessive time process to really optimize productivity. The time to build a house has increased from something like 4 months to half months to build the average house. Even production builders have to work hard to get 4.5 months, when advanced manufacturing homes can be built in 30 days. So when you think cost of operation, just to have that business exist every day is about $500 to $800 a day. You save 30, 60, 90 days of time, you're saving $40, $50, $60,000 of cost in the home. So just time is a huge cost savings. So all these together are the types of product innovations I want to walk you through today, as much as I can get through. The intent that I want to break away wherever we are in a 15-minute window to make sure we cover productivity. Because I think advanced manufacturing has really interesting possibilities, but very, very powerful pitfalls in terms of what makes it kind of fail so frequently as it does across the US. If we do these things, the outcomes we can expect are really enhanced user experiences. Homes where life happens better. In the neighborhood, in our property outside our homes, indoors in our homes, and enhanced wellness as well. Nurture financial wellness, physical health wellness, and our homes are actually going to stand the test of time better at future rate. So here's a pre-curated list of all the things. We cover the full list today. You'll see all these things add up. In terms of financial wellness, these are things that will make houses more affordable and lower product costs. I'm not going to go through this list now, but if you follow along during the next hour or so, we'll be covering some of these items that are lower costs, as we have space, complexity, getting free attic volume if we do unvented attics, mass customization reduces costs. And you see, each of these things will be another cost savings, another cost savings, another cost savings. But remember, I'm trying to get homes that reduce costs by 50%, as Howard said. And then at the same time, these homes are so much lower cost to own. The bills, the maintenance expenses for health costs due to sick days lost at work, insurance premiums, water bills, all those things go lower. And then physical health wellness will make the indoor environment so much more healthy by getting rid of a whole bunch of contaminants, getting all this natural light benefits, and having all this assured fresh air. And we'll have healthier living because we'll reduce clutter, greater social connection. And to the extent that developments can also add to the agenda. Healthier eating. Diet has a big impact on health. We can have agri-hoods are communities with community gardens, and also ensure developments aren't food deserts for getting healthy food. There's a lot of things we can do. This diet has a huge impact on health as well. And the last wellness element is future ready. And the things we do will optimize appreciation, optimize protection, disaster, and insurance, and water shortages, and optimize future expectations people have, smart, all-electric, energy integration, all the things that we know are coming. So there's a lot here to get to, but that's showing you up front, just all this ends up to big savings for how we get better for less. Let's start with lean. I mentioned this is the biggest item, because lean encompasses so much, but the key concept is waste is any resource that doesn't add value in the eyes of our customer. This is a quote, a concept from Scott Saddam. He's very nationally, globally recognized waste lean expert. He consults a lot of builders. I built on what his definition for waste by adding or could add value at no additional or lower cost. A lot of things we're going to cover today are where we have the opportunity to extract value at no cost or lower cost. So that's waste, and we're going to really attack it. This is all the forms that I mentioned earlier. Wasted land. Land's cost fortune. It's crazy that every square foot of our property doesn't have value. My view. We have access to all these amazing resources, sun, the wind, let's use them. They're in living space. We shouldn't waste any living space. Right now, at today's prices, if we subtract the cost of land, which we're spending $300-$400 a square foot to $50 a square foot, let's get rid of the square footage we don't need. It's not adding value. Construction waste, energy waste, and future readiness. There's waste to be obsolescent. Build something that should last 100 years. That doesn't. So how do we start? Let's start with land, and let's get the most out of each lot. And the things that I go through, again, a lot of this will be in the full reference. We won't cover all these today, but the two most important things you got to do in any piece of land is you got to optimize views and you got to manage topography. So that's why these two are where everything begins. When you give them a raw piece of land and I want to provide housing, I got to get these two right first. There's some natural views that can be captured. I have to get the most amount of lots accessing those views, but I cannot take any risk of drainage problems. That will completely destroy the user experience living in a home. If there's erosion issues and home getting wet issues, then next things I do, I got to make sure there's open space. It's usable. I want to optimize the space on each lot so it's usable. Remember, I'm paying a lot for each lot. I want every square foot to be useful. And then also community connection. So we'll talk about some of these things, not all, but it's a missed opportunity not to get the most for each lot. So this is obvious, right? If I have a view, I got to get the most amount of homes, get the advantage of the view. Water, vistas, green spaces, cityscapes. That's no magic. But here's where people, for purposes of budgeting, will cut back on landscaping and trees. And it's just a first cost issue. And I love what Charlie Munger said. Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's prime. Two of the most successful investors in the country, wealthiest businessmen you'll find. Basically, I think he said it best. He said, spend money on trees, you get it back triple. Snipping and landscaping is building malpractice. Because once you develop a land, set its basic plan, it's locked in perpetuity. That's it. Not to get this right really has huge effects. So one is just the data backing that up. When you look at how much just one concept, trees, increases value, it ranges from 6 to 35%, depending your big wooded reserves to just good tree cover and so forth. Now, I don't want to go through the details of all the different types of way trees are integrated in developments, but 6 to 35% is a big jump. And they, it's just those are the neighborhoods that tend to last best. And then new research that's come up and shown, they did this study. This was done actually Louisville, Kentucky. They put in trees in underserved neighborhoods, and found that low-income neighborhoods planted with trees compared to those without had 13 to 20% lower levels of general inflammation blood markers measured. The point was health went up almost right away with trees. So it's physically measured. So when you build a home, we should say, maybe we should be proactive, making sure that property is optimized for landscape. The two things we can do, we can either offer landscaping upgrade or provide expert guidance, making sure the homeowner doing it themselves execute a good plan. So if you can, one thing's maybe you offer the landscaping, make sure your neighborhoods look beautiful like this. I forget which neighborhood this is, but this is the typical way when you apply good landscaping, it's transformative. Or this is a Hawaiian home landscape plan, concept plan. It tells you the spacing, the species, trees, how much turf, how much outdoor living space, and how to furnish it. It designs it with expert features. The important thing is this huge transformative differences when you have an expert who knows the right type of turf in the mouth, the right shrubs, space and color, the right ground cover type and color, the right trees, type, spacing, dropping that are not annoying, the right hardscaping, the right way to have outdoor living and furnishing, and the massing that creates the right effects. It is just huge difference when an expert does it. So if you give your home buyers a solution that you pay for once and maybe use multiple times, it's amortized the cost of doing it over a number of times. All to say, if it's malpractice not to put in good landscaping and trees, maybe invest a little bit in the experts that help your help homeowners, low income to high income, execute a much better solution. It's locked in. Another big thing in wasted land is the geometry you choose. Both these properties are the same size properties, same amount of land, but one is using a square type of configuration, and one on the left is a long, narrow footprint home. And when you make that choice, what happens is with the long, narrow footprint, much less access to the backyard, whatever room happens to be there in the back. Much less access to daylight, much less access to the street, community connection, and to the degree I have a room here, a much more hallway. I haven't had any homeowner yet, decades of being an architect, that asked me for more hallway space. It's never come up yet, right? So it's no value, yet I'm adding square footage. So with the square foot, all those things get better. I've got 10% less walls with this nearly square shape, this shape. I have double the view to the back, double the connection to the front, and I have more daylight. And so everything's better at lower cost because I'm saving 10% walls for maybe a few $1,000s. And I'm also saving 10% of my energy bills because I have less exposure. And I can get the same number of lots because it's the same square footage of land space that I'm using both those. It's a big difference. All it was the geometric footprint in the planning process for whatever subdivision or community I'm planning. And so the next thing is also allocating space, open space. Again, the value of open space by one study is $13,000 increased value for each housing unit located within a quarter mile of protected open space. And I often show communities in the mainland when I'm there. I'll show like Savannah, Georgia, and other communities with open space. And they have like 40–50% premiums because open spaces are just built in the neighborhood. So over time, the cost of the housing that you are missing because you left the open space is overwhelmed by the appreciation benefit of having it. And so I'll create all sorts of activity and connection with things like walking trails. This is Wakakuli neighborhood in Maui. We can have community gardens also, which is about healthy eating and community connection and activity. This is another, just having nice gardens in the neighborhood, just to kind of zen out, have places where people can connect. And so you kind of get a sense that's a big deal. Neighborhoods and open space. They're also about wasted land for each individual unit. And so this is a townhouse community here. I believe this is Oahu. And when I go and look at basically the configuration, it's usually a townhome, sometimes a postage stamp backyard. Let's say you have 6 units running across. And the problem is, again, we have the same problem with a long, narrow plan: view, outdoor linkage, access, daylight. Privacy is each unit can look into each other unit, and connection. And virtually the garage or whatever in front, usually you have a complete disconnection. So can we do better for less? And so this is the outcome. Again, there's almost no connection. It's all garage. Then you go to the back and you're useless because it's not adding any value, hardly any access. Neighbors can look into each other's space. So get rid of this if it has no value. And repurpose it for more units to do things that are better. So if we go to an L shape, get rid of the back that has no value, we create a valuable courtyard outcome that works completely different. First of all, we can create a quiet side so we have complete privacy to our courtyard. When we look at all the outdoor linkage, the entire footprint has linkage now to a desirable open space in the property. And the secret sauce is we have people come into the courtyard to the house, we have a full front room and a full, let's say, front lanai, community connection, instead of maybe having an entrance walking through these rooms and breaking them up. So the middle entrance gets rid of the hallway space that adds no value. Everything's being done with the lens. How do I make every square foot add value? How do I make every square foot of property add value? And then here's an example of how it was done. This is an L-shaped townhouse, huge courtyard. And this was done in Alabama, US. So here's a project. Here's the problem with this project. So it does everything nicely, but they didn't follow Charlie Munger's advice to invest in landscape and hardscape. It's just a pretty boring courtyard space. Contrast that with I'm going to try to pronounce this. But Maui is a beautiful courtyard type of space. Look at the difference the landscape makes. Investment in landscaping is transformative. As a recovering architect, I will tell you that landscape architecture trumps home architecture almost all the time. So let me give you an example where I had to do this exact kind of thing with a client. This was their project up in Vancouver, Washington, which is a suburb of Portland, Oregon. Okay? So they're building these duplex units. So you wind up with no place to park. It's too narrow in the community. You have all the garages up front blocking any connection. These yards have set for access and daylight. And we talked about the yard's not useful. The side yard has no use. All the outdoor space almost has no use. And so I get daylight, connection, privacy, parking, yard's not useful, access to it. And this is how we can fix this kind of thing. Just make it more narrow and have almost like courtyard effect of the wider, narrow yard. Put the garage in back, using the backyard space that was for the backyard. Now the yard has full functionality. We have a front porch and we have connection, all the things that we need to have. So this is the floor plan. And what we want to do is just use box shapes to show you here's what we had. Here's how I can make it work in a narrower footprint. So now I get the garage in back. I get that side courtyard kind of effect. And I have the rooms are all the same or bigger size from what they used to be. No extra square footage, no wasted space. Trash is in the back, cars in the back, front porches and streets. So what we've done, we've gone from this, which is the actual project that has its first bill. And again, it's trash cans, it's cars, there's nowhere to walk, there's nowhere to park, versus we can have this kind of effect. You don't, the architecture there is, which street would you rather live on? At zero extra cost. And then we look at the backyard, the side yard, this is useless, right? And it's now slot side yard, it's just going to be overgrown, it will be almost an eyesore. Versus if you create enough width, we can have all these very attractive courtyard type of spaces. And then the backyard, that was useless, now is repurposed, so it becomes the garage back there, the trash cans are back there. So this is, again, trying to say optimizations about stop wasting any square foot of outdoor space, stop wasting any square foot of indoor space, and really apply best practices for connection, for daylight, and so forth. And again, research will show social connectedness is great for disease prevention, lower rates of anxiety, stronger immune system, better cognitive function, all these benefits. And you see it basically neighborhoods that are designed for people to get out, to be active, to connect to the degree they want to. I'm not saying you have to meet everybody every day, but whatever amount you're comfortable with, you have access to because it's designed better. 50% better chance of staying healthy, increased longevity, and that's with a study of over 300,000 participants. So this is kind of putting all these things together. This is a beautiful, standard, authentic architectural style, plantain style architecture for Hawaii. I got my lanai in the front, I have my connection, parking's not right there in front of the house. I have a simple roof design, not really complexity. I have a square configuration, so I have more daylight, more views where I want to use. It's just, we don't have to add any extra costs, and we can access all this additional value. So there are the options. There's Koa Ridge with garage dominated street, and here's Hawaiʻi. And just, we have the ability to do this. I don't care if it's low income developments or high income developments. This isn't any cost, appreciable. It's designed by design, it's integrated into our thinking and planning from the very beginning. And to show you it applies to almost any level, I want to give you an example of what's done for a homeless village. This is on the other side village, Salt Lake City, Utah, but it can be done anywhere. It could be here in Hawaii, the same way. But they applied all these concepts for a homeless village. First thing they did was they found a piece of property that was just being used for garbage, and people throwing debris there. And so rather than NIMBY being a problem for a homeless village, as it normally would be, they were taking a blighted piece of land and repurposing it so it would provide so much value to the community, providing a place for the homeless village. And then they converted it with open space, connection, a wellness center. It had guidance and community farming for healthy eating, skill training for getting jobs and moving on to your own life, as customized designs that were advanced manufactured. All the things that we're talking about were done to empower individuals to move beyond chronic homelessness. So this is kind of the design. Went from this being just garbage bins and trash all over the property to a beautiful development. So they actually help the neighborhood rather than hurt it. And then they mass produce these living units in a factory. Would be kind of tiny homes. Then they put them on property with trails, with open space. Again, you see front porches on homeless homes for connection. Everything they're doing is applying the same fundamentals we're recommending. It had community farming for healthy eating and training about healthy eating and skills development. And these are the kind of results that you get. In their case, with the first block of, I think, 170 and adding another 400, because they got these results, it's just amazing outcomes. 100% housing stability, formerly chronic homeless, now permanent housing, 100% sobriety and recovery for the majority of them coming in with all sorts of issues. They help them right away. 100% employment. The skills they gave them led to jobs for 100% of the residents. 75% got better health. But the costs, this is lower costs, this is better for less. They reached 185 million savings were due to reduced costs of emergency services, shelters, police, ER visits, detox, healthcare, all of the costs that went away for all these residents because they went with this approach, plus they all had higher incomes when they left, obviously, from where they were. But these, you got to measure results because then you get the funding to do the next phase, the next phase, and the next phase. And concepts just work over and over. And I'll leave you with this about wasted land is everything I'm talking to you about is a lockstep with what they find are the fundamentals for how blue zones work. One, people move naturally. Having open spaces, having community gardens, having trails, having ways that people interact creates movement and activity. It's incredible for health. Positive outlook comes from connections, purpose, and connections to each other. Eating wisely, plant-based diets, moderation, fresh foods. Again, advocating making diet, healthy eating part of the agenda. We do housing, not creating food deserts, and the value connection, family first, and neighborhood relationships. All those things we find in blue zones. So this kind of a strategy for creating blue zones. Okay, the next category for waste is natural resources. You're blessed. You live in Hawaii. You're in paradise. You have all this beautiful breezes coming in every day. You have all this sunshine coming in. What do you do about it? You don't ignore it. And so you have tools to make sure you can embrace it for natural comfort. Orientation, shading, thermal mass, breeze orientation, breeze capture, cool roofs should never be neglected. They don't cost anything, and they do so much better. Yet, everywhere I go and take Google Earth pictures, this is the kind of neighborhoods I'm saying. There's no topographical constraints. They're saying this is how the street should run. We're just basically trying to create interest where we should be creating capture of natural resources. So you know the deal. Basically, the sun is higher in the summer and has a broader arc, and the winter has a shorter arc and it's much lower. It's not almost vertical in the summer, 88 degrees, and it's 45 degrees right now this time of year. So the key thing about south orientation is you have optimum access to the daylight you want and optimum control because the sun is higher, it will take less shading to block the sun you don't want. And then the east and west, the sun is so low, you have hardly any control and much less access. It's a much smaller part of the day than the big arc going around the south. North is good for diffuse light, right? The big thing is orientation gives you control, helps you create better environments. In absence of it, this is what you're doing. People have to basically just put lines in front of windows all day long. What is the purpose of a window? Anyone guess? Why do we have a window in the first place? Why don't we just make solid walls?
Like
You
ventilation.
maybe? Fresh air,
Egress.
get daylight, use that's what you mitigate the purpose of the window in the first place. You don't consider orientation. So east-west lots, if your home's oriented front to back and with the windows, and it's easy to do, it's just it's not being thoughtful. If you do it, basically it's 45% free cooling. This is a study in California, and if we're cooling, in what climates like Hawaii, which is near the California coast, about 45% savings. Just from orientation. But more importantly, natural light, I put the blinds up all the time because I'm getting all this glare coming through versus I manage the orientation. I get all the natural light. 98% of homeowners and designers and architects score natural light top home feature. And again, you're blessed with it here in Hawaii. It's a natural resource you want. You don't want this, you want that. Improves vitamin D, wards off this doesn't happen so much here in Hawaii with seasonal depression, improves sleep, and enhances productivity. Okay, so like I said, we want to do stuff that's free that makes things better. It costs zero. That's orientation, free heating and cooling, free cooling, summer comfort, superior comfort, thermal mass. I'll talk about in a moment. Natural light, natural cooling, fresh air, and resilience. If it's really long, protracted hot spell and got a power outage, you can float with thermal mass and orientation. So I believe this is worth tens of thousands of dollars. If it reduces your electric bill, heating, for cooling by 30–40% over 30 years, that's tens of thousands of dollars. And here's an example with another client. This is the original site plan. Here's north, here's south, all the units front and back, 85% of glass facing east-west. which means all those units, the blinds are closed every day, all day. But 100% of units are basically exposed. So it's unbelievable. 29 units, 0% customized comfort with 80 lights and blazing. And so all I did was reconfigure it this way. I got 33 units, 4 extra units, right? And basically all these units are now north-south. Plus I threw in a couple of pickleball courts because this is a busy street. No one's going to use that playground. And but you can see basically you not spending more money, and I have 4 more units, and they value. It's being awful about natural resources and get to better answers. Okay, this just shows you the concept of shading. There's the summer. There's an overhang. That's what happens. Basically, no sun coming through. That's a 0 solar heat gain coefficient. On top of that, the walls are protected from the sun. The surface of stucco will get up to about 140 degrees with the sun hitting it. We're stopping all that. Thousands of nails in the wall. That's perfect conductive heat. Reduce all that heat getting going through into the studs and into the house. And if we don't have an overhang, we can do very simple overhang details over the windows. Example from another house, Hawaiʻi. And I mentioned thermal mass. You don't need thermal mass for heating here in Hawaii, but with 45 degrees, the angle of the sun in the winter and all the sun coming through, you have south orientation. It's nice to have a thermal battery to store that heat so you don't overheat during the day. So you get 40% greater comfort by controlling the mean radiant surface temperatures. That's what the thermal mass would do for you. Give you a little bit of control. So if you have slabs, I might consider using tile rather than try to put a wood floor on top. And here's an example of how you can be thoughtful doing all this. This is Kumahau in nearby, it's in Hawaii, the island. But this is a development that's oriented to prevailing breezes. It's using the overhangs, it's capturing the sun, it's capturing the breezes. We kind of have examples where we're doing this. These are should follow examples. And again, when you see a home that's just capturing all this fresh air, you know it just feels great inside. And casement windows are your friend. They give you the full aperture, but the big thing you have to know is which angle, which side do you hinge the window? And that's in the book, we discussed that in greater detail. It's amazing the difference how you make the casement windows open. Cool roofs are just a way to, really effectively, with no moving parts, just reflect more sunlight, so you get a 40-degree improvement in the heat that comes through the assembly. So that's a big benefit. So here's Bermuda, another island on the Atlantic side, where every roof is almost white by design. Just get all the benefit of that free cooling. Where in contrast, it's just as hot in Melbourne, Australia, and the real prevalence of the dark roofs, which are absorbing heat and exacerbating comfort and cooling. And cool roofs can come in standard shingles, so you don't have to go, you have a lot of design choices. Okay, right sizing. This is about, again, every value of every square foot you put in at the highest level. And you do that 2 ways. You optimize the space you have. We talked about geometry, the floor plan, circulation. You want to minimize but make feel generous, built-ins. And then you want to enhance the space you have so it's perceptibly bigger. Lives big. You do that with indoor-outdoor linkages. When a room continues on to the outdoors, it just lives bigger. Raising ceiling heights makes rooms feel bigger, or varying ceiling heights. Curated finishes, expert colors, lighting, all those things contribute to being sumptuous. So the concept has been embraced by the auto industry. This is a 1970 Impala. This is a 2020 Impala. There's about a 2-foot plus difference in the wheelbase of cars. This one has the same or more trunk room, the same or more headroom, the same or more leg room, has more storage space inside with cup holders and everything else, has a better safety features, it has more reliable performance, it has better acceleration. Everything's better about the car, but it's small. We can do the same thing with housing. So one of the first big things we do, now I have shoelaces untied and driving me nuts. So, again, open floor plans just make spaces get bigger. 20 to 30% bigger perception of size with open floor plans. And then indoor-outdoor linkages are great because almost 90% of homeowners want to invest more in outdoor living. Here in Hawaii, we're better for that. So when you have the indoor-outdoor linkages again, this room feels so much bigger, it just extends outward. And then capturing outdoor living, having useful spaces outdoors. This is one of the more controversial concepts that I go over a lot. Let's start first with this research about clutter. Basically, clutter creates stress, increased cortisol levels that become chronic, and inability to focus that kills productivity. And we all see this every day. If our desks are just cluttered and we have all these papers and we're just not getting to things, we almost become paralyzed productivity. And so in our homes, it's no different. And a big way of getting rid of clutter is being more efficient. And here's where I recommend something builders always fight me on, which is built-ins. So every time I have a freestanding piece of furniture, the space from the furniture to the wall on this side, the furniture to the wall on this side becomes semi-usable. Because the furniture sticking out, what do you do with that space? And because the furniture stops here, nothing happens up above. I don't get any value from the space above the freestanding furniture. Because the furniture has to stand outside the baseboard, I have like a 1-inch gap behind it. That's where maybe the outlets are. Maybe I can't get to the outlets. But freestanding furniture is just awkward. And it takes away space and it kills the perception of size. So if this is just, let's say, this is just a unit in the dining room here, built-in contrast goes all the way across one way, all the way across the other way. I use the space that's being wasted at either side here. I'm getting like 4 or 5x more storage. Floor to ceiling, I'm getting shelving, display areas, more storage, whatever I need. It just makes a room 20, 30% bigger. I'm using built-ins. Every time you go on a boat and you see what they do with built-ins to make small cabins feel really comfortable, it's all built-ins. Boats are incredible at doing this. And if I make a space 20, 30% bigger, the cost per square foot that I save in building smaller more than offsets the cost of the building. So it's a benefit. So here's a bedroom without built-ins. And I'm going to submit, because we had built-ins now, a dresser and desk and shelving and storage above the bed and everywhere, this room could be 20, 30% smaller. Okay, and so the cost of built-ins gets offset. Here's an office space with a freestanding desk. If we have built-in desk and shelves and storage, everything feels bigger. Just have a small alcove and have a more functional, more sumptuous office and a bigger office space in the house. So here's an example how this all applies. The space below a stair is usually dead space. I use it for a minor use closet that has very little value. In contrast, by investing in this one desk built-in, 1 unit here, 1 unit here, and some shelving, not a lot of cabinets that you're putting in this space and shelving. I've converted a small minor value closet below a stair into a work at home space. And value here maybe 5 to 10% higher value per home, because instead of a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, I'm a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house plus a work at home office. All by taking a hardly useful space and converting it. At the very least, even built-ins can make the space just be so much more attractive, more storage, display. So I have this constant battle with buildings about investing in built-ins. And again, it's going to be cheaper with the square footage that you offset to include them in your home. So here's an example. I have built-ins everywhere. This is a design I did that'd be a great way to do a house in Hawaii with a plantation style architecture, a lanai in the front, put a lanai in the back. But mounted kitchen cabinets, island, work at home space, a large screen TV and living space. You have a huge master suite, large closets, storage, compartmentalized showering and commode and 2 sinks and bathtub, and then I have compartmentalized bath, bedrooms with dresser and shelvings and dresser and shelving and desk and shelving, dresser. The small bedrooms are living like 30–40% bigger, and it has a full laundry and hardly any hallway. Got rid of as much hallway as I could. So I'm going to submit that 1,400 square foot home lives like an 1,800 square foot 3-bedroom 2-bath house. And if it's $150 square foot hard cost, it's $60,000. We had a meeting with DHHL, and their cost for their housing, they tell me, are $500 to $550 per foot. Now, cost savings jumped to $200,000 plus for right sizing and built-ins and using, and I have varied ceiling heights and a lot of things going on here. But basically, this is when it all comes together. This is how we get the kind of cost reductions that I was promising you at the beginning. How do we get 30–70% cost reductions? So right sizing is great. Construction is about normal quality assurance programs, planning, lower production inventory, minimizing process, transportation, waiting time, processing. There are experts that can talk about that. So I'll move on to waste and energy. And again, I don't want to cover too much here, except that you don't need to make this too complex. You're blessed here in Hawaii. It's very simple for me. Maddie from the energy office, finish your internship, has developed a really great checklist you can look at, which covers virtually a lot of things I do on the efficiency side, enclosure, equipment, components. What I'll add is indoor air quality. Almost no extra cost. You could use low chemical and low contaminant choices. And also you can have dilution with good fans, bathroom fans are good for diluting the house. And also kitchen fans for diluting cooking emissions. And you have duct systems, you can consider high capture filtration in those duct systems. But it's not too hard to do with zero energy home. We reduced all the loads so much now with these strategies that you could put a very small solar system on at the beginning or in the future, be ready to go. But the key thing I want to talk about is moving beyond zero to avoiding obsolescence, wasted future readiness. It's easy to predict the future. You do it accurately. All you have to do is leave out the parts you could be wrong about. The key is knowing to distinguish between soft trend and the hard trend. Does anyone know what soft trend might be? An example in the home? Paint color. Anything else is a soft trend. Counter color. Type of siding. There's so many things that will change. Next year there'll be a different style. Okay, but some things won't change. You know, certainly won't change. We're always going to want to feel healthy living in our homes. We're always going to want to feel like we have a lot of storage. We want a lot of daylight. We want a lot of fresh air. The things that will just never go out of time. Our homes are going to appreciate more. So how do we invest in things with certainty that add value and avoid obsolescence? And there are four that I want to talk about. One is cost-effective solar. One is disaster risk, which is increasing exponentially in magnitude and in frequency, and more water shortages and smart all-electric homes. So starting first with solar. Today, the cost of solar installed is roughly 6 to 15 cents kilowatt hour. I don't know, here in Hawaii, your prices, are they much higher than the mainland? Like anything else?
Yeah, we're probably closer to like 40 or 50 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay, so 40 to 50 cents installed.
And what you say, 42, it's about right. Yeah.
The utility electricity is about 42, 43 cents.
Right.
The national numbers, when I go and I query what's the net cost of solar per kilowatt hour, the artificial intelligence queries will tell me about 6 to 15 cents kilowatt hour, and cite all the studies that I got. But even if we double this, we're way below cost utility power. So at the very least, if we don't include solar because of the front end first cost, you've got to be solar ready. For virtually hardly any cost, you can negate the cost penalty for putting it in later rather than putting it in during construction. And you can negate the disruption to the homeowner, things happening, drilling through the house, getting wire and so forth. So it's very, what I'm going to tell you is at the very least, solar ready, and to recognize solar's coming in the future, designing for solar so you don't have plumbing vents coming through the south side, right? Having enough south roof for solar. There's a lot of things you should be doing just because so cost effective and going to be more cost effective over time. On natural disasters, I mentioned the frequency and magnitude are increasing exponentially. That's physics, right? The ocean surface temperatures are warmer. The atmosphere is warmer. Just the gradients between air masses are greater. So where hurricanes used to be 300-400 miles in diameter, 12 and 1,300 miles in diameter, the storm surges coming across used to be 3 and 4 feet. Now we're seeing 14, 15 feet storm surges. We're seeing, like in Houston and other cities, 40 plus inches of rain in 36 hours. You know, this is nowhere the arc time kind of stuff. So this is just the physics. We have so much more water evaporating, so much more temperature differences. This is here. So let's design for resilience. Again, whole walk through how to do wildfire resistance, how to do hurricane resistance, and how to do all the earthquake resistance. All that is the subject of a longer presentation. But the outcomes are really impressive when you do the right thing. Which of these homes do you think is the most cost effective? It's just huge outcome differences, but the things it takes to make this home still standing, where all the others burned to the ground behind are minor. And then the cost premium savings, if you qualify for fortified home programs, will negate that cost completely. In some parts of the country, it's insane. The median insurance premium in Metro Miami is $22,000 a year, if you can get it. Okay, that's almost $2,000 a month. If I can negate the $2,000 a month, that's like adding $200,000 of buying power to my home. There's a builder I'll show you did just that. Okay, so we need to be thinking the same way here. And I mentioned water is the future that you're going to deal with. That water is more challenging. Here, I, a couple of days ago, pulled from the U.S. Drought Monitor the drought maps for Hawaii. 70% of all Hawaii islands have some measure of drought. And you all know water shortages keep getting worse and worse. So design for it. You know, it's easy to specify water sense fixtures, which are much more energy conserving. To the extent they're not required already, Energy Star appliances will save you about 40% water use as well. Outdoors, there's a lot of things you can do, landscape and irrigation systems that are efficient, controllers, even more off the mainstream solutions like rain barrels, smart water monitors, great water recovery. There's lots of things you can do for outdoor. If you put all this together, all these concepts, future readiness, energy optimization, to me, as a package or a high performance home. So they look better, that's why we do them. What we did, we minimized energy, we managed greater risks, and we minimized obsolescence. We wasted energy, we're efficient closure, efficient equipment, efficient components. We manage risk by moisture protection, we have low load comfort systems and indoor air quality we talked about. Obsolescence is ready for solar, we're ready for disasters, we're ready for water shortages, and we're ready for the electric smart home future. So that to me is framework for high performance. And it's great you see homes do that. Here's affordable net zero, Waianae Valley, Oahu, homes have PV and solar, they have clotheslines for drying, they're oriented south, are ready for solar, they have daylighting coming in, they have shading for windows and orientation and breezes. They're doing everything, and these homes would be beautiful. They're low-income households. We need for them. We can do this for all the households. Simple. It's just crazy that how much complexity builders think homeowners want. The floor plan, the architecture, the details all contribute to cost savings. Leonardo da Vinci said it best: simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So surveys show 80% of nearly 1,700 Americans wanted homes that were more simply designed. It's just, you gotta catch up to where people are. So anytime we do something complex, we add costs. Let me show you why. Let's say we do a recess porch in your home. And then 15 minutes. I have to build this wall and this wall because I'm moving this wall back 12 feet. So I build this 12-foot wall. So I give up 200 square feet and I have to build those walls. So it's almost 3,000 more for 200 square feet. Just to show you how complexity works. I got 15 minutes left. I'll just show you one more. This layout I showed you for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath has 6 corners. It has these 2 corners because I recessed the master bath window as privacy from the outdoor living. I could have brought this up here, avoided those 2 corners. That 3-bedroom, 2-bath home has 15 versus 6 corners. That's going to cost me extra 14,000. So you kind of get the idea. I'm going to skip. I'll show you this one. Complex roof. We're draining water into that wall. We're draining all this water against that wall. We're getting all this water. We're creating risk. We're creating costs. This is much more simple. Okay, so I'm going to move to the last section because I have 15 minutes left. But you're getting the gist of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build better for lower costs. I'm going to. I want to show you one. I do want to show you what mass customization is like, though. 6 building blocks can be configured. Be configured to create floor plans, but by having limited number of choices on number of stories, another set of building blocks, pop-out windows, and front porches, you create a lot of diversity. It looks like this. So even though I'm building the same 6 building blocks, I can make the street look pretty diverse. Pretty powerful stuff. Here's a actual. What you do is you have first of these three out place, dining, living, you up to the bedroom, backpack, and you have 5 different a low level view, and cave, office, it's pretty powerful what happens with mass customization. So productivity, let's basically tell you that first, you're doing all these things I just talked about first. Plain, simple systems integration, proven innovations for quality, mass customization. Now you're ready to digitize. It's a digitization worthy. And now you're going to build it over and over again. Building blocks optimized for how the manufacturers themselves. So the car industry will build a home car completely on a computer first before it goes to the factory. Exhaust system, the engine, the cooling system, all the shocks and supports, all the safety systems, all the interior comfort systems. Everything is built and optimized in the computer. We use these analog drawings. Even the computer developed drawings are analog. And it's horrible. We can do digital and be faster, better, cheaper. I'm going to skip back and talk about this is insane, glacial, and we have all these options for advanced manufacturing. Framing kits, panels that are framing, structurally insulated panels, insulated concrete walls, modular building blocks, and hybrids of, let's say, modular kitchens and bathrooms, panels for the rest space. Additive is precast concrete and 3D printing. Subtractive means we take the material, we cut away what we don't need, that's waste, and then what's left are the panels and kits and modular pieces that we install. Additive, we take the materials and we use exactly what we need. Either molds, we print it in 3D printers, we have hardly any waste. And all this is at scale, cheaper, less workforce, and amazingly faster, 30 days less versus 8 months, 5 months. So all these benefits happen with productivity. So this is a framing kit where I need a plan to get the CAD drawings, converted it, cutting, and automatically create pieces, number them, and install the field with very little waste in the field. More waste in factory. In framing panels, and make framing panels in the plant, and if you have a crane comes out on site and sets them and you have your home. So that's faster. SIPs will usually use cranes and panels will be set in the field, and you have an elegantly simple way to create a home. It's highly insulated. Volumetric or modular, build the boxes and plant, go out in the field, either pre-finish or finish in the field, they're set very quickly in the house. This is an advanced manufactured plant that uses a lot of robotics, making modular units for multifamily. Autovol has it's 53 ABB 6-axis robotic machines in the center, around the perimeter, and pieces that are made or on rigs and assembled. Some boxes are shipped for 3-story units that look like this. The manufacturer claims 20% cost savings over framing, but the cycle time alone is worth another 30,000-40,000 equity building. So huge cost savings, potentially modular. And in a plant, this is a composite printed 3D home we just dropped on site. But the big question I want to raise is, should we always be doing all this with wood? Wood for sure is much more flexible for design and construction versus concrete, right? But let's compare everything. Regarding moisture and humidity risk for mold, rot, dimensional, and warp stability, expansion, contraction, concrete is far superior to wood. For disaster risk, for high impact resistance, for pest and termite resistance, and wildfire resistance, storm resistance, wood's pretty rough, concrete is much better. For construction costs, job site waste, minimize labor, minimize job site protection, wood versus concrete. And again, you need to say, well, what is the right material? So here in Maui, Hawaii, we have surf block is what I tend to use, concrete blocks. I think they're composite lightweight blocks. So that's one option. These are the insulated concrete panels I mentioned. There's basically they're expanded polystyrene, you pour concrete in the middle. These stirrups are actually reinforced in the middle. All these parts are numbered, so they're all placed together. They're so light, you don't need a crane to put them in place. Truck comes and pours the concrete, and then you have a finished home. 3D printing, the printer could be a single access machine in the middle of the home, or you have going around each side and it just moves up back and forth like a printer. Prints ink, but you print your home 24/7. You're making this home just coming right off the printer. Keep pumping more concrete into the mix. Termite resistant, impact resistant, fire resistant, storm resistant, very different. And I like this technology a lot, but it doesn't get a lot of traction. These are precast concrete panels. So the insulation's on the interior, R10, but the rib construction mitigates 70% of the concrete. It's a normal concrete wall. So I'd say 70% of concrete, yet it's stronger because it's like a big bond beam as it connects down all 4 sides. And it has metal taps on each rib, so you put your drywall right against it. And it has all the holes running the plumbing and wiring into it. So this is the walls above grade building a home. You have R10 insulation, which is double. So you could make these with R5 if you wanted. And it looks like a plantain style home here in Hawaii. So it's all precast concrete. It lives the exact same, but protection, resistance to everything that's going on. So it's an amazing difference. This is a plant I visited in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but again, similar tropical climate. They pour 2 2-inch slabs, all done with robotics. The forms all are created with robotic technology. And then it's all driven by computer drawings for the architectural design. And then it's steam cured at 10,000 psi. Now, normal concrete is 3,000 psi. It is bulletproof, moisture or anything going through. And it's assembled into a sandwich panel with R5 insulation. So it's roughly just what you want here in Hawaii. And then it's all storage, order, installation, ship to job site, and there they are. This is a bulletproof home. You're gonna have 150, category 5 hurricane, 150-mile winds, you can have flying debris, nothing is going to damage your home. Airtight construction, not too big a deal here in Hawaii. I tell you, I love having a home with no insects, much less moisture coming in when it gets humid under those conditions. A lot of storage to hydro storage to what issues as well. And that's what these homes look like. So they look like homes. Between the concrete walls and hip roofs, this can withstand any storm that comes out. What's the price point for this? It's $500,000. It's lower cost than the other frame homes it's competing against in this market. Here's the big deal, though. We're not using all these innovations. We're at 80% on the top floor. And the big problem we're having is they're failing right and left of me, mainly because they're not designed for manufacturing. What we do that's insane is the building business model we think will work is the builder comes to the plant and says, this is the home I want you to build. The plant's got to figure out how to configure that home at a lot of extra cost to the plant and then make that home for the builder, for the home. Would you ever bring a plan for a car to a car dealership and say, I want this car, they'll build it for me, and then have them expect them to make the car that your drawings that you can afford to buy? It has to be mass custom. It has to be mass produced. It has to be designed for manufacturing. It has to be digitized the way I showed you. So every part of the system is optimized. Every component of the car, everything has to be designed for manufacturing. And it's not being done today, except suites to do it. And then designed for assembly. These are basic concepts. We have multiple pieces that we have to manage, or we can figure out how to have afterwards minimize the part count of one piece. We have standardized parts that are just the same parts, but use lots of different parts to make it much forgettable. And assembly can be complicated shapes and handling, or much more simple, and lots of motion or less motion. If you design from every step of how the mass-produced components go into the field and then create a home, use substantial costs. All that is great. So the poison pills that are plaguing advanced manufacturing, a lack of design for manufacturing, lack of design for assembly, lack of setup solutions are creating friction, so builders don't want to use them because they have to figure out what do I do with the panel. Lack of whole product solutions. Who's going to frame the rest of the house? How do I make them work with panels that you give me? And all the uncertainty, the lack of how you integrate with the trades, the lack of things that's a learning curve. There's so many issues. There's ways of attacking all these so this will work. But this is just not doing this, it's an afterthought. It's almost doomed to failure. So what's the affordability recommendation? I'll leave you with. Well, let's tee up this first. This is what happens with innovations. In 1908, a car was $30,000 in $25. And then, as Howard told you so eloquently, Henry Ford came along with innovation in the assembly line, and the cost dropped to about $5,000 in $25. Personal computers in 1971 were about $6,000. Now today, with all the advanced chips and electronics, it's down to $200. Television sets, color TVs in 1973 were about $2,800. Now it's just $200. All the advanced electronics, everything went into it. Housing in 1950 was $98,000. In 2025 dollars. In 2025, it's $420. Hawaii is $1.2 Here's what happens when you innovate. You have 80-90% affordability gains. Now, without it, you have this exponential increase, lack of affordability. So, my recommendations, just to leave you with room for thought, is there's no plan for affordable housing without innovation. So let's innovate. And government can do a lot of things to help us out. They can develop and apply a lot of what's working in cities that are having tremendous success with affordable housing. Singapore, Vienna, other cities are doing amazing things. Let's learn and apply what they're doing. Regulation policy. land acquisition policies, financing policies. There's tremendous tools that these other cities have developed. Let's team up with government to figure out how we make these work for us so that it's easier to build homes. Why? But on the product side, let's disseminate these optimization skills that we're starting to touch at today. Let's do trainings and workshops and charrettes and design studio projects where we actually apply, make these optimization techniques work. I recommend an affordable design competition where you have to apply all these skills to an advanced manufactured solution. So you get both savings from optimization and advanced manufacturing. Have maybe designers best in the country came up with various advanced manufacturing providers. And then let's accelerate advanced manufacturing. Let's evaluate all the options. Okay, what's best for Hawaii? Want maybe a wood option and a concrete option, or just wood options or two concrete options, or modular and panels, or let's figure out what works best here based on housing needs. Also, we can't expect to ship modules and panels overseas. So we have to bring in the supply chain right here to Hawaii. And if nothing else, unions would never let us bring in out of state panels and modules. We have to make it happen here. So let's get global purchase programs that have adequate demand that provide enough incentive for advanced manufacturing providers that are the preferred options we want here in the state. Invest and ensure they have design for manufacture and design for assembly. If you do these things, you can get housing, we can drop housing costs 50%. So I hope this makes sense. I want to remind you that ever need to reach me this contact information. This book is a great reference that covers a lot more detail than what we did today about how to apply the benefits. And before I hand off, any questions people had, or 15 minutes for questions.